Hi, I'm Kim Galloway. Denise, thanks so much for having me. I'm from Northern Arizona and I'm a book coach. I call myself your story pathfinder. And that really means that I have a way of helping you tap into what is your message and how do you want to bring it out to the world. And I love what you have going on in the Sacred Money Archetypes course. I am a maverick. I am so far off on the maverick scale that my next two are ruler and celebrity. Yeah, there was a huge difference between those. And much like Gemma said, it was like, I suddenly had all of this realization about why I do what I do, why I'm successful in business, the areas that I was totally not successful or, a little shaky. Exactly.
So the first round of questions, and Kira, we're going to start with you, Kira, then Natalie, then Deborah, Gemma, Kim, and then Helen, you're going last on this one, is when you got the quiz results for SMA, was it a surprise, or is this something that you've always known about yourself, that you like to break rules? Have people, told you, or have you gotten negative feedback from it? Or, was it a surprise, or did you just go, yeah, that is me?
So when I only took the quiz once, because when it came up with Maverick and I was reading the description, it was this breath of fresh air. Somebody finally got me. Somebody finally understood my ability to go, you know what, I don't have the money, but I think I'm going to go ahead and invest in this thing and I'm going to make it okay. And then I do. And so when I got the whole list of archetypes, there was not a single one that I was surprised at with where it fell. But it was this great level of permission and understanding that, yeah, I totally jump and then look later. Hope that the water's there, hope that the net shows up. And it always does seem to. And, it's interesting that everybody's calling themselves a rebel, because my maverick does not manifest that way. It's very specific in the money, where I'm really good at saying, I really need this thing. I really don't have the money, but this is my next step. I'm going to go do it and I'm going to figure the rest of it out. And that always seems to come together. Sometimes it is a little harrowing living on the edge like that. I wish sometimes I could manifest my inner accumulator, which those are like the accumulator, the nurturer, and the connector. They're really low. I don't have much talent there. Thankfully I'm married to an accumulator, so we're good. And that excitement about being the maverick and really being able to own that, it finally brings light to where I would always bash heads with my dad. I thought my dad was going to be a super maverick too, and he's far less than I am. I'm extra. And he would always he's self-employed. I did 10 years working in his tax practice before I dove out to do the book coaching. And he was always like, well, if you're going to be self-employed, you just pick which half of the day you work. But if you're not working 12 hours, and if you're not working 7 days a week, and if you're not, and I took all of that information and went, yeah, no. Ever since I was little, I had been accused by my parents of wanting to have my cake and eat it too. And all I could think of was, well, why wouldn't you want to eat it? Like, if you just look at it, it goes stale. Of course I can take these opportunities and I can spin them into something magnificent. I do not have to have the whole path figured out before I move into action. Oftentimes it shows up. And kind of the really funny thing is that I also really like processes and systems, as long as they're mine. I very much live in a black and white world, and it is the rules according to Kim. And I struggle when I have to have rules according to somebody else. And that's probably one of those, not so great aspects of Maverick. But getting those quiz results, I didn't need to take it twice. I knew it was spot on. That described me to an absolute T.
So the next question, and I've put it in the thing too, of I want you to think back to your childhood. So Kira, you've already mentioned too that, you know, was it your mum or your grandmother called you Miss Missy? And I want to hear like even more about this stuff, right? So we're going to start with Natalie, and I want you to think like, where has this come out? Because for some of you, I'm hearing it's not necessarily about rebellion. For some of you, it's about being bold or courageous, or you know, seeing things that don't work, or being extra, or sparking a flame in something. So think back to some of this comes out really early, you know, like at preschool, you go, no, this is stupid, I'm not going to do it. Or you led a rebellion in your primary school because of, I don't know, some stupid rule. And then the thing that came out too, what are your family, did they have a nickname for you? Did they ever say things like, you know, it's your way or the highway? Or, you know, you can't have your cake or eat it too. So, or were you called stubborn, or, you know, just where did it come back? So just think about that from a young age. Where did that little baby maverick come in? We're doing Natalie first, then Deborah, Gemma, Kim, Helen, and then Kira, you're last on that one.
I love this question, Denise. Yeah, I was definitely a little maverick running around. Now, I loved school, but when I was in elementary school, both of my parents taught at the elementary school where I went. My mom taught second grade and my dad taught fifth. And I got to grow up with the rules not exactly applying to me. And that was perfect. When all the other kids had to go out to the playground before school, I got to go hang out in my mom's classroom and eat white donuts with the son of another person who worked at the school. But that little kid maverick often got me in trouble because the rules don't apply to me. What do you mean everybody is sitting quietly and you want me to be quiet? You're joking, right? There were so many times in school where, you know, everybody's reading together as a class. And sure, I'm reading the book. I'm just like 40 pages ahead of you. So when you call on me to read, I was in third grade and the teacher's like, you need to follow along, Kim. And I was reading the same book. I was just well ahead. I just looked at her, and I did not wear glasses, but you know, it was the 8-year-old equivalent. And so I read the 2 paragraphs of where I was in the book, gave her this snarky little smile, and then continued on. After that, every time when she'd ask me to read for the class, she'd say, and we're on page 18, the 3rd paragraph down. You know, and like so many of my fellow mavericks have said, that when we stifle this rule breaking, let's go out and do it our way, sure, we'll kind of follow your system, but only if it applies. That's where we get miserable. And my hardest years growing up were when I was in 9th and 10th grade, so beginning at high school. And most kids in the US go to high school at 15, and I went at 12. And I looked like I was 12. I hadn't hit puberty yet. And I was scared to death of everything. And brilliant. So easily the top of my classes, but I was 4 foot nothing and weighed like 40 pounds. So I was itty bitty. And I hid a lot of my vibrancy, my brilliance, my good ideas, my bad ideas, even my ability to talk in class. I hid a lot of that. And then once you're a junior and you're an upperclassman, I was fine. There were finally kids at school who were younger than I was. And so that maverick really came back out for me. And for me, it never manifested as like flamboyant clothing or like, I did art, but not drama. Give me a microphone. I love to talk on stages, but it was much more of, I never had to guess who I was. I've always known who I was. And the only times my life gets awful is when I'm trying to conform too much to what I'm not. And that was maverick for me as a little kid. Just, no, the rules don't apply to me. And I was in my dad's class in 5th grade. I lost track of how many times he'd kick me out into the hallway because I couldn't be quiet. He's trying to teach a lesson and I'm over there talking in the corner. I spent a lot of that year in the hallway.
where is this showing up in your business? So here's the question, and I'll just put it in the comments, is like, how is your maverick showing up and sabotaging your business? But what was the aha around SMA for that? And so I've got a couple of things here of like, have you burnt it all down? Have you gone into risky spaces? That Gemma, what you were saying about wanting to test the roller coaster, which was just perfect for a maverick, right? Because it's like the comfort of the roller coaster. Or is it going, I am not going to do that, even though it would be useful for me. So going to that extreme, or just going, that's stupid, or worrying about the roles, like what you just said, Kira, there about, I want to do things differently. I don't want to do the same role as anyone else. So like, where is that sabotaging you in your business specifically? And, were there any ahas that you got around that shifted things? And Deborah, you're first on this one, and then Gemma, and then go around, and then Natalie, you're last on that one.
I love being a maverick in a group of other mavericks. I don't actually burn my business down. I don't flitter here and there. When my business was new, I definitely took on anything that related to, oh, you want to write a book? Cool, I'll ghostwrite for you. I'm a lousy book length ghostwriter. Oh, you need blog posts? Sure, I'll do that too. Oh, you need copy? I was a bang up copywriter. And so I settled in on just doing the book coaching. But where I sabotage my business, where that maverick comes in, is that need to take the risk. And it's always around the finances. I look at some of the accumulators in SMA and I'm going, but your money it's just sitting there. Like and you don't spend it. It just sits there. So that maverick really comes out with, I have worked really hard to not spend every single penny that comes across my bank account and just get rid of it as quickly as possible. I know that I'm like, this will just cause accumulators to just have heart attacks. I don't think that debt is bad. I am very comfortable with my credit cards. If I need something and I'm like, cool, how can I juggle this? How can I invest in my business? How can I invest in myself? How can I get training or join this program? And the way that really sabotages those, I carry a lot of debt. I'm constantly living on that edge of the feast or famine. And those have been the things that I'm working on. But how do you work on it so you're more comfortable without losing that delicious live on the edge, take the risk, roll the dice, be excited? And it's really interesting, the fine line between the strength of the maverick archetype and the sabotages of the maverick archetype. But yeah, I'm, the maverick in a group of mavericks. I have not burnt down my business in the last 10 years.
Oh man, I wish we could just talk for hours more. Honestly, there's so many places that we could go here. I want to know. Yeah, we're just talking then in the threads about like having to do short-term stuff because you get resentful or you feel like you're in handcuffs for having to do those long-term things. And that's the power of the maverick, right? Is that you can sell anything, doesn't mean you should. You can do lots of things, doesn't mean you should. But the thing that I guess I want to leave you guys with too is the power of technology is so good for mavericks, because maybe as a kid, God, so many of you like youngest in the class because you got bumped up. So you were the different one. And the cool thing is now with the internet is that we can go and scoop up all of those different ones from all around the world. There's literally, no limitation to who you can serve. And we can use that as an amplification, and we can use the automation to support all of those things so you can create that freedom, but without literally burning everything down and, finding those short-term team members or batching things in your high energy times, but you need the infrastructure behind you to do it. And so when we talk about simplicity, maybe it is things like the all-in-one Kajabi thing. So then you don't have the complication of lots of things. So there's a lot of ahas there around, just finding that way so you don't have to do fuck you to the funnels and burn it all down. It's like, I'll do it, but it's on my terms and it's got to support me, not the other way around. So there's so many nuances there around team and systems that will help us, because I'm a maverick second, to help us thrive, not double down on our self-sabotage and create those unhealthy patterns. So I got so much out of this. I hope you guys did too. All right, I've got to go. Thank you. Honestly, thank you so much for your time and your generosity, guys, and your ideas and your just activating energy. I just appreciate it so much. And I can't wait to see you guys in SMA.
So, are you a ruler, a connector, or a maverick? Hang on, maybe you're more of a romantic or a celebrity. Take the money personality quiz right now and find out which of the 8 money archetypes you are. And then I'm going to teach you how to profit from your strengths and make money in your business based on your natural personality. Click below and find out more.